Welcome to the Made for More podcast. We have got a very special guest on today. If you are in and around Adelaide, you have perhaps heard of PK or Paul Kitching. And Paul and I actually, you might not remember this, Paul, or maybe you do. We actually met just over 12 months ago at a networking event. And it was probably one of the last networking events that I went to until very recently on Skydeck at the beautiful venue here in Adelaide. And since then, we've stayed in touch, which I think is fantastic, and even more recently. So, PK, I would love it if you could tell us a little bit about where you came from and where you're going.
Yeah, thanks, Ali, and thank you so much for this opportunity. It's great to be able to chat with you. And yes, I supposedly remember when we met that night on the deck. I actually remember walking over and saying hello to you.
Do you?
Yeah, absolutely. I think you're with some friends, either people I knew or something. And I'm not shy. I love meeting new people. So it was nice. I'm like, I don't know that person. I'm going to go and meet them. But so where did I come from? That's a really good question. Where I really came from is Sydney. I actually grew up in Sydney. I lived there for the first 12 years of my life. And we moved to Adelaide, in the late 80s. My dad got a new job and the whole fam moved over to Adelaide, the best state and the best town in Australia, of course, and loved it. And so, but back then, even then, that was for school. And then I worked in the A&P Society for a while, but I didn't really know that I wanted to work in communications, but weirdly, everything that I've done has kind of led to it. You know how sometimes those things happen. And so I suppose I was working part-time at Country Road, the clothing store, and I'd been there part-time, and then I came back from overseas and started working full-time. And I actually have to credit Country Road for my sales skills and my sales training. It had some amazing sales training that was phenomenal. And I actually wrote them down in a book, which I still have. Here it is. My CR Road number one. It was only ever one book, but seriously, it was all about, because it was everything like your attitude is the key. Here we go. Greeting and approach, and demonstrating effectively and improving presentation. So yes, obviously we had to convince someone to buy a chambray shirt that they could buy down the road for $15, for $70 instead. But so therefore it was all about your attitude, and so many really good life skills and sales skills that I've learned since then. So I'm blown away, really. And I suppose that gave me the confidence to work in. And then I studied public relations, and then I suppose my journey to where I am now started when I got a job in media monitoring. So, which was good.
Media monitoring. I didn't know that about you. But I love that you said the attitude is key, and that was part of the sales training. But I think, now more than ever, attitude is the key to pretty much all of it. If you want to be... if you're locked up at home in coronavirus, or if you're out in beautiful Adelaide, as we so luckily are, whatever it is, your attitude paves the way for where you're going.
Absolutely.
So, you didn't know that you're going to end up in communications, and that's where you found yourself. So was it attitude, or was it, just coincidence? Well,
I don't know. No, I think it was a bit of a combination of both. And certainly studying public relations was great. And then I'm working in media monitoring, and then I did work as a publicist for a while, but the best thing was only a 6-month contract. The best thing was meeting my wife. But also, I suppose, but you know how sometimes you do things that tell you that you don't want to do them. Like sometimes doors close. We say that doors open, which is, great, but also when doors close, that also defines us. And so when that door closed, I realized that I didn't want to be a publicist. I actually wanted to use my publicity skills, I suppose, and knowledge that I'd learnt, combined with, I was a writer as well for Rip It Up magazine, the street mag, and then the opportunity came to join Rip It Up full time. So
Rip It Up magazine.
Yeah, so people listen to this, I don't know if they'll know Rip It Up. Gosh, it was back in the day, so it was like the gig guide, or the street press. So basically the go-to Bible to find out where to go on the weekend, which you probably may remember, hopefully. I don't know.
Yeah, I knew all about, well, I didn't know all about Rip It Up, but certainly I was aware of Rip It Up and had a couple of friends that were in the gig scene, and loved it. Very cool.
It was great. Yeah, it was like these days. I mean, there are some fantastic zines or street press still out there, but back then it was Facebook. It was the way that you found out where to go on the weekend, who was headlining the big day out. It came out on a Thursday, so like it was very much on that Thursday, people would go and find it, mid-afternoon and find out what was happening that weekend and who was headlining all the big festivals and the latest CD reviews and everything like that. So that was good. I loved it. I was there for quite a while and enjoyed it. Yeah.
So what actually led you to, from Rip It Up magazine, what led you to become the BDM of Fuller Brand?
Yeah, well, so I suppose it was like 20 years that I was associated with Rip It Up. It was quite a long time, and I enjoyed it. But then an opportunity came to move into, still in media sales, but into radio. So I sold advertising for really niche radio. There's the Australian Traffic Network, which is all the traffic reports on radio and television. So I sold little spots for that, which was great. My girls, I've got 2 girls, and they were growing up, so I was working from home, which was really good, and enjoyed that. But then, I don't know, something happened. I decided that I was getting a bit restless, I think, in my role, and I was chatting to a whole lot of different people about what I should do next. I made some awesome contacts, networking my little butt off over the years kind of thing. And I met I'd met him before, but I caught up with a beautiful man, a guy called Jeff Robertson, who's sadly no longer with us, but Jeff was part of Nation, had been with Clems, and he was just like that guy that, that really, a nice mentor that, that gave you ideas and planted the seed. And so he had a great vision. He said, PK, maybe you should be doing BD for an advertising agency. We can't employ you. I'd love to, but, because with advertising agencies and marketing agencies, the BD or the business development or sales is usually done by the principals. But then once they win the work, then they're too busy doing the work to actually go and get the new work kind of thing.
Cycle.
So it's a real fine line to find that. And so anyway, he planted the seed, and I was just, thought about that. So park that thought. And then back then I was, going to, like I still do, I suppose, when I can, going to anything I can, and pretty well inviting myself along to things back then, to events. And Fuller back then was known as Fuller PR. No, I think they become Fuller Brand Communication, the company that's evolved over the years. But they had these awesome events called Agenda, and it was their annual client function. And I somehow invited myself along to that. And I remember vividly at the 2015 Agenda in February or March, it was the beginning of the year, chatting with Will Fuller at the end of the day. And he's like, PK, you should be doing this, you should be doing that, you should be doing a BD role. And I'm like, yeah, that sounds good. And then he rings me the next day saying, mate, you should be doing that for us. Let's chat. And so,
there you go.
So nice. I mean, I wasn't guaranteed the job, but it was just nice to have that. That was the entry level, I suppose. And then I still had to prove myself. And to this day, I'm thankful for giving me that opportunity to be able to go in. And it was a very different. It was certainly a pivot from selling media to selling marketing services. So it's a great, beautiful, great company. Fuller. I love it.
So I know that you are such a huge advocate for Fuller Brand, and you'll sing his praises, but what do you love, I guess, the most about Fuller Brand? And what you said that there's a difference between selling PR and selling marketing. Can you explain a little bit about what is different about Fuller Brand?
Yeah, absolutely. So we've been around 27 years. So we started off as a small PR agency. Peter Fuller started the business in the Barossa as Peter Fuller and Associates. He'd been working the wine with a lot of wineries at the time, and then helped to write stories for them, press releases, etc. And that's basically, and it has evolved over the years as our clients' needs have as the market has evolved. So we've now become like a full. Not like we are not a full service. We're an integrated agency, fully integrated in the sense that we can do writing, communications, PR, video, websites, digital marketing, design. Did I say video, photography, anything? Pretty well, anything you name it. So
do really good videography.
Yeah. Well, it's just an honour to work for such a successful and well-respected South Australian, family-owned business.
Yeah.
So I can't express how much I love it, and how honoured I am, I suppose, to work there. And it's a totally open, honest, transparent business that treats its clients with the same level of respect. So my role as business development manager is to get out there and represent the brand, grow our profile, and then I suppose introduce people to our strategy first business model. So yes, it's a sales role, but it's really much a relationship role, perspective, I suppose, and that's why I love it. And that was the big difference, I suppose, between the media sales that I've been doing for like 15 years was very much, right, you've got some space, you need to sell it, bang, bang, bang. We need to fill it for this week, we need to fill it for next week. So getting my head around selling marketing services that someone may not need for 6 months, 9 months, who knows? Or they may need a press release next week, or something designed, or a brand created for a product, or a sub brand for a product that they've got. But a lot of the time, it is certainly a long lead, and I had to teach myself to accept that, to not be too hard on myself if I didn't get a sale straight away.
Yeah.
That was certainly a transition that I had to teach myself very quickly.
So have you recognised a trend in the time lag?
As far as the as far as how people like making a decision. Yeah, absolutely. Look at it, and a lot of it is to do with budgets, obviously. Yep. So certainly at the moment, gosh, we respect that a lot. We are very fortunate that Fuller's doing well at the moment. We did have a bit of there was some downturn there, like most businesses, but we managed to pivot and adapt as well. But as have our clients to some degree. But as far as time lag, it's a good question. It's really hard to know, and it really can depend on whether they're a brand new client or whether they're a client that we've been with for years, like UniSA or SA Water, who we do a lot of stuff with, and others like that we'll just continually get briefed new jobs to work on. So they're expecting, and then that comes down to the account managers and how they manage those time expectations. But for my role is to bring in new work. So it's been always new, something. So, but it's never been a sales job. Yes, it is sales, but I don't see it like that. I just see it, and I love networking, so I just love the fact that I get to grow my profile, Fuller's profile, and that in turn, helps Fuller win work, and I win, and that's a win-win. So
everyone's winning. Your clients win. I love that you talk about, it's not being a sales role, it's more of a relationship role and around networking, because that's obviously what we're talking about today. So one of the really, I guess, iconic things, we can now call you an SA icon, that's happened, is it 19 weeks at the moment?
19 weeks, yes, my God.
Yeah, you have been running a online networking coffee called Coffee with PK, or CWPK. So what prompted you to start Coffee with PK?
Yeah, look, it's I've been thinking about this a lot recently, because it has been, like, as you said, 4 months, 4.5 months, gosh. Clearly my role in BD relies, and it has been that for the last 5 years, relies on developing business and going out and seeing people, going to events, always being on, always going out, being on people's radar. So, and as everyone knows, that got pretty hard mid-March, overnight, everything's cancelling. Can't go anywhere. No one wants to come to the office. I didn't, I was concerned about going to office and that kind of stuff. So all my meetings dried up. I even started going down to the local cafe. Shout out to Tell Henry, and just to stand around and see if there was anyone I knew, kind of thing. Just do my own kind of networking that way. And which was kind of and then I remember chatting to my wife, I think that night, telling her what I was doing, that kind of thing. And she knew that I relied on going to meetings. And she said, "Oh, why don't you just have a coffee? Like, you make a coffee," because I was about to start working from home as well, like everyone. You make a coffee, and then you ring someone, from that you've been connected with on LinkedIn, or you've met at a function in the last month. Get them to make a coffee and go on your speakerphone, and you can both chat, kind of thing. And I thought, yes, I like your idea, and I love her for that. But why don't we expand on that and do it over Google Hangouts and have it as a video call? So, and then invite anyone. So basically, and that's what I did. And I think it was like Thursday, the 19th of March, according to my notes, that I put a simple post up, basically just saying that, like, hey, who wants to catch up tomorrow? 10:30, I'll be there. Anyone wants to catch up? And it kind of blew up. Like, I had, I'm pretty active on socials, but it was the kind of thing I think that people were just like, almost like aching for. They went, yeah, we still need to chat, kind of thing. And from the very first beginning, I never wanted, again, it to be a sales thing, and it never has been, and it never will be. It's very much about networking and about communication. So basically, and it became Coffee with PK, and I suppose it became a chance for people to catch up and chat and network and get a bit of social interaction. So it's and I know you've enjoyed it, and thank you so much for coming along.
I have. I was a regular at Coffee with PK, and loved jumping on every week to see the positivity that you were spreading far and wide. And it wasn't just Adelaide, it was, people from around Australia and even internationally. So I think, the amount of connection that we were all needing and requiring was amazing. So thank you so much for holding that space. So I know that you're
my
still
pleasure.
running Coffee with PK at the moment. So it was, every day for 19 weeks, which is
gosh.
in itself a massive, massive feat. And now that we're sort of transitioning back into the office, there's been a little bit of a change. So what are the details of Coffee with PK now, and how can people get on?
Oh, sorry, mate. Yeah, absolutely. So now it's, I just realised now I'm back in the office part-time, so I'm in the Fuller office today. But I realised it just needed to evolve. So I'm doing it Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. So at 10:30 a.m. Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, we've got a landing page, which is pretty easy to find. I think you said you might even put in the links for this.
fuller.com.au/coffee-with-PK, and I will put that in the show notes as well for this episode.
Thank you. And it's a bit of fun. I mean, at the end of the day, that's also just, it's interesting how something that I just stumbled across has been a really good platform for Fuller and for me, I suppose, to illustrate what we do. And so that, for example, is a landing page within our website, and you can find it via our contacts page. And on that landing page, it's got an example of animation that we've done. There's a link to the videos that I've done. They're not the highly produced videos that our team does. It's just me chatting to a camera on IGTV. But then there's you can download the music that I play at the beginning. So it's kind of become a thing of its own, and a sub brand of Fuller. But it's but a lot of people have said to me that it's helped a lot people cope, as you said, like people from here, from overseas. Some people are working from home. Some people are, gosh, as we know, in lockdown. I had someone from Melbourne yesterday chatting about what was happening over there. Some beautiful friends in New York, and as I said, it's been happening now for 4 months. So on one time, we actually were chatting to someone in New York about the riots that were happening right outside her room, kind of thing. So look, it's and a lot of people, I suppose, have just said it's just give them a bit of a burst of goodness, or it's their most uplifting meeting of the day. And looking at that, and if that's great, and it might be only for some people, it might be the only connection they have. Like I've had quite a few uni SA students. I'm involved with their mentor program, and since talking about this with them, I've had quite a few of them join as well, which is fine. And at the end of the day, I'm happy for anybody and everybody really to join. Yes, at the end of the day, my role is to network and to get out there and to talk about Fuller, but that's what I'm doing, and it's a very non-confrontational way. It's that I do it, and it's and there will be the other thing. I suppose you asked a question about the evolution of it. I am planning on doing an actual face-to-face IRL Coffee with PK soon. So, and I reckon I'll let you know about that, because I reckon you might be keen for that one.
I think I will be there. I love a good face-to-face event.
Yeah. So, and look, and anyone listening to this is very welcome. So, thank you. I'd love to meet anybody new. Bring it on.
Yeah, bring it on for sure. So I love, because I saw Coffee with PK happening in its early days, because I follow you on the socials and we keep in touch. And I think probably one of the biggest realizations, or what I started to notice, is there weren't just marketing people that were rocking into your Coffee with PK, and your network stretched much, much wider. And I was like, oh, okay, right, I'm going to get onto this and see what's happening. And all of the times that I rocked up, there was people from all walks of life, not just marketing, not just media, not just advertising, from all over. And I think that was amazing to be able to hold a space for those types of people to connect. And I think, your reputation as a relationship role and as a networker is, it's massive. You're becoming an SA icon for sure.
Oh, calm down, but thank you.
I'll get you a badge.
No, it's just a platform that I'm very proud that I've been able to provide. One platform that hopefully helps people. So yeah,
it's awesome. So thank you. So what do you think are the key elements to being a good networker? You're very good at it and a great connector of people and places. So how does that? What are the good key elements that make up a great networker, and how does that relate to your role at Fuller Brand?
Yeah, I suppose one of the first key elements is, and this is what we talk about here at Fuller as well, is to have a good elevator pitch, and not even about the company. I mean, all companies, all brands need to have a good elevator pitch. So it's basically how you describe where you work, the company, in the time it takes to get from the bottom of the elevator to your floor, kind of thing. I think, I don't know. Actually, it's a bit, or is it that you're elevating your brand? I don't know. It's a combination of both.
Oh, I thought it was you got into an elevator and you only had a short time. Have I been doing it wrong?
I think it is. No. I think that is
I've been doing it wrong all these years.
I agree, but then no, you have, and because it is, that's bam, you've got to get it straight out, say where you are and what you do, kind of thing. You are right. That's exactly what it is. But I think so. I think the thing is, going to networking events is to have that ready in your back pocket, and be able to talk about what you do, but not to go on about it too much, because you want to protect the ability to do it quickly, but then get others to talk more than you do, because when you're networking, you want to be yourself. So no one wants to be sold to at a function, right? You don't want it. It should come naturally. And I remember when we met. That's what I said. I remember wandering over and saying good day and whatever. And so I suppose that's the whole thing. I'm sure I talked about what Fuller does, and I remember you talking about Made for More and what you were doing, which was great. But I think the other big thing is to remember people's names when you meet them, and especially if they don't have a name tag on. Hopefully they do, but if not, ask for a business card, or stop, take a note on your phone, or just wander away and just say, because at the end of the day, especially in networking function, really you are there to network, right? So it's not as if you can be like, sorry, one moment, I just have to write. It's like, and just make light of it as well, and just be natural, be yourself. I think that's the best thing. Thing is, and I suppose, and then start to build that relationship right there and then. But then even the next day, send an email, send a LinkedIn note the next day. So I think, as I said, that what I really want to jump home is that you're not selling something by networking. What you're actually doing is building the relationship that leads to hopefully uncovering the opportunity that will help both parties. So not where everyone's in sales, like myself, but in Fuller's case, it's a story that a potential client may need help telling. So we can help them with that. So the opportunity, I suppose, is for both parties, is that we can help create branding and marketing. The client gets that and all they need to increase their brand profile, and we get paid to do that for them. So it's all relationship building as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, I think that's really important, and I know that there's a lot of people that will be listening now that haven't been to a networking event, or it's been a while between drinks, so to speak, since they've been at a networking event. And I think something that's really been obvious to me recently is very much what you said. At a networking event, there's no disguise. We're there to meet new people, build those relationships, but no one's actually there to be sold. Like, no one's whipping out their credit card at an event. It's very much around finding out, what you have in common, what you can do to serve other people, and, building on that relationship over time. And I think that's amazing that you're so good at doing that and connecting other people. So once you've got your elevator pitch sorted, you've got that ready in your back pocket, people are hopefully wearing name tags, you've collected a business card, you're building on that relationship by sending like a LinkedIn note or something like that. What are the benefits of being a good networker and even having a good network?
It's a good question. I suppose my attitude is that I'm an extension of brand Fuller, the Fuller brand. And so me just being at a networking event is, when we copy PK, is spreading, the work that Fuller does, even if it's not even in the chat that day, they're just seeing the word Fuller, they're seeing me talk about it on LinkedIn and elsewhere and kind of thing, and it's just getting our brand out there. So I suppose you want to become so good at relationship building that people don't realize they're being sold to, because as you said, no one wants to get sold to. So you're not necessarily selling to them, you're building that relationship. So I suppose it's about just keeping in touch and finding something that connects you, as you said. And like, coming back to what I said, you have to remember that you are an extension for the brand you work for. So, and I've always had that attitude when I was at Country Road, even after hours, when I was on a break, or at home wearing their clothes, when I was ripped up, when I was going to gigs and concerts and whatever. And now at Fuller, I am an extension of the Fuller brand, and you always have to remember that. And you also want to become that person that networks so well that people remember you. Like, they're like, you're John from A1 Garden Supplies. That's right. Or they even talk about you in relationship to your brand or your company. I think that's the other thing as well. And so even to the point that what you really want is for senior management or a boss one day to meet someone, and that person says to them, "Oh, you're from the A1 Garden Supplies. Don't you have that John guy working for you?" And you're like, "Oh my God, my job is done." The boss hears your name by someone else, and they know that you've done a good job in at the networking kind of thing. So I suppose at the end of the day, you want to become like the expert in your field, or even in your niche. So wherever you work, what I'd recommend is talking to, these are for companies who are supposed to have marketing departments or anything like that, or speak to your HR or anything like that. Talk to them about using you as a spokesperson to some degree, kind of thing. If you're confident enough to do that. I suppose if you go into the network, not everyone has the confidence, I suppose, to do that. But you are an extension of the brand. You are always selling. You have to remember that you are selling the brand without selling it, but you are putting forward the brand that you work
Yeah.
for, and you are a mini sub-brand of that company's brand. So yeah,
A mini sub-brand of that company's brand. I love that. That's awesome. I know that you are a park runner, as in you participate in park run fairly regularly. Did you just complete a milestone run?
No, I did. Well, there's no park runs at the moment, sadly, because of COVID. But I have been doing a lot of big runs. Yes, I have. Well, I'm on my way to my 250th. How many have I done? Gosh, I've done 100 and something. So my next milestone will be 250. But I do exercise every day. I do 5Ks a day, and I've just hit
that's awesome.
day 200, I think it was. So anyway, I don't run every day, but I do exercise in some form. This morning it was riding my indoor bike and doing Tabata, which is like interval training, which is a whole nother story. But anyway,
because I've seen you,
yes,
seen you post a few photos of Mount Barker Summit.
Yes,
I grew up on the farm, just the summit.
Yes,
Yeah,
that's right.
yeah. When you were posting, I'm like, hang on, I've been there.
Yeah, no, I'm involved with the Mount Barker Park Run, even though I live down in town, but I mean, not that far. Gosh, it's only 20 minutes from the toll gate. But yeah, I'm a big fan of Park Run, and I just love its inclusivity, the fact that it's free. Anyone can do it. You don't have to run. It's timed, and you're competing against yourself. So you're just bettering yourself. One day you might do it in 50 minutes, and the next week you might do it in 45. One day you might do it in 25, and the next week you might do it. You might be trying to get down to 23 or whatever. So it's a beautiful, beautiful thing. I highly recommend it to anyone, and it's a great way again of communicating. A social, sadly not at the moment, but and for some people it's great social interaction. So there's a lot of benefits of parkrun.
Yeah, and I like that it's a win your own game type ethos as well. So when you're in a funk, what's your go-to method for getting out of funk town as opposed to funky town?
Yeah, it's a good question. Exercise is certainly an element of it that I probably just take for granted that I do, and I know, and I'll go for a walk if I haven't been feeling really, really well, or I'm unsure about something, or I just need to work through something. I'll go for a walk out here at Fuller at lunchtime, or with the dog in the morning, kind of thing. But the other thing, and I'm well known for this, and I suppose I've got the ability, not everyone has, is to just tell myself to move on. Seriously, mate, just move on, because the sooner you do, the sooner you get yourself out of that funk. And I know that's not necessarily describing how to get out of the funk, but for me, I just have to remind myself, because the sooner you get out of something, or the sooner you move on, the sooner you'll be back at doing what you do best. And this is something which it took a long time for me to learn this, and I only really learned it, when I was at ATN, so the job before this job, because it was a big, high-powered job. I was the only rep in Adelaide doing it for a national global company, and there were big deals that were happening, and some of them were being lost, kind of thing. And I remember my boss telling me to read this book. So
Who moved my cheese?
So he said, you read this book. It's a really small book, really thin book. I read it again last night. And it's by Dr. Spencer Johnson. And the whole premise is about accepting change. And the sooner you accept change, I don't know if you've read it. Have you heard of this book? Have you read it?
I have. I actually heard about that book years and years ago, but I give that to my clients that are going through some kind of change transformation as part of their work around Who Moved My Cheese. Yeah. Love it.
So good. Yeah. So the whole premise is that, but people should just find out for themselves, but basically is that the person or the mouse in this case, or the mouse and the person in this book, the one that every day they go to they find some cheese in the maze, and every day they go there and the cheese is there, and then they get so fixated with it that they just always expect it to be there, and it's always there. But then obviously the cheese starts to get smaller and smaller, but they don't really notice it. Yeah. But then there's one mouse that is ready to move on and go away and find some cheese. There is that one person though that sits there and says, "Who moved my cheese? I'm just going to stay here. Someone's going to bring me some more cheese. There's going to be," and then they just go through this whole process, and they're just wasting time basically, because no one's going to bring you some more cheese. You have to go out and find more cheese. So the sooner you move on and get out of your funk, the better.
Yeah. Definitely. And it is a great book for anyone who is having troubles with dealing with change, and particularly right now. It's really good, because as we know, change is just a constant. It's a constant thing, and we have to get used to it.
That's it. Come on. I love it. But I love that book.
Me too. So your 5 top tips for upcoming leaders and business owners. So if they're wanting to become better at networking and growing their own network, what's your top 5?
Yeah, well, thank you. Obviously, I prepared this earlier because you asked me, and I did have some time thinking about it. So some of them are practical, others are just ethereal and thoughts, whatever. But the first practical one that I always say is to wear your name tag on the right. So
on the right.
Yep, on the right-hand side, which is really weird, I know, but the reason we do it, and you can certainly, I know you're listening and you might be watching, but go with me here. So reach your right hand out, or your elbow, I suppose you're going to be elbow kind of thing. But when you go to shake someone, so obviously the natural thing is to go with your right hand, but the natural gaze will roll from your hand all the way through their hand to their right pec or their right shoulder, right? And so hopefully they know this rule as well, and the more people they tell, the more people will do it. So, but for them, you're making it easier for them, because they're going to see your name straight away, because they're going to, a natural gaze is going to be all the way along there to your right pec, and they will therefore see your name and your business, and it's just a way of a bit of a way of starting the conversation, and it makes it easier. It's in that line of sight. For them. I know I've told people this before, and they're like, what if I'm left-handed? It's like, well, with your left-handed, not often will you, I even know left-handers that don't shake left-handed when they go to a
I'm
function.
left-handed, and I only ever shake left-handed as a joke.
There you go. Well, anyway, but the other thing also, if you do have your name tag on your left and you go to shake with your right, your name tag, and this happens, I was at a function yesterday, happens all the time. Your name tag rolls around to the left on your left pec. And I make a point of it. It's a bit annoying, but I then go, oh, sorry, because I can't see what their name is, even if they say what their name is, and kind of thing, I can't see it, or I just want to have that verification, even if they do have a name tag, kind of thing. So it just makes life so much easier, and also it also means that for ladies, that people are not like looking all over your upper region, shall we say? Yep, and because it may be a tad awkward, kind of thing. So if your name tag is on your right, it's just bam, they see it straight away, and they don't want to make you feel uncomfortable. And so it's just, and the other gold part about this is that if they've gotten your name, they can see it straight away, and they can quickly glance at it and go, oh yeah, g'day Paul, how you going, kind of thing. Or if you forgot your name and hopefully they've got theirs on the right, I can quickly see it and quickly glance at their name if I've forgotten it, kind of thing. Hopefully I haven't, and you can see it. And it's just, anyway, that's my top tip. Wear your name tag on the right.
That's a great tip. I've been doing it wrong. I keep wearing mine on my left, but I'll have to
do it on the right, and you'll find it will just be so much easier. Number 2, I am a bit of an extrovert, and I love nothing more than meeting people, but so I have no issue with it, but I know that it's not for everyone. So I learned early to not be that over the top annoying person, that's too super positive, as I may be coming across here a bit, but anyway, because that can scare people. So I suppose I've perfected it over the years now to approach events with a modest approach, a bit measured confidence, and to read the room. And so my second tip, I suppose, is around that, is that to read the name tags first, if you can get there early, and see who's going to be there, and note down anybody that that you want to say good day to. That might make you feel a bit more comfortable, that that someone's going to be there and you can search them out in the room. Or there may be, equally importantly, someone that you want to meet, from a network perspective, and quickly note that down, or take a photo of the name tag if you know the people who are running the function. It's not that weird. But I suppose you just know that everyone else, is in the same boat as you as well. So, and they may not, come across as confident, and they, as they would like to. So they're probably panicking away in the background, kind of thing, but wanting to. So it's just about making people feel more comfortable. So yeah, read the name tags, read the room, and get to know a little bit about who was in the room before you get in there. And which I suppose leads to my third tip. Sorry, should I just keep on rolling with these? Sorry,
keep going. Keep going.
My third tip is when you meet someone, don't just say, "Oh, what do you do?" Because that's just boring and it's expected, and it's Anyway, I'd like to say, what keeps you busy? Or, along those lines, because they may be a stay-at-home parent, they may be a mature age student. So you can never assume, so where do you work is another annoying thing. Or where do you work, kind of thing. It's like, well, don't assume that they work somewhere, because if they don't work, or if they've just lost their job, it's going to make it awkward and uncomfortable. So what you want, you never want to make someone feel uncomfortable. So you want to make them feel easy to chat with you. So saying something like, what keeps you busy, so much better than where do you work? I sometimes say, what keeps you busy? Are you working or studying at the moment? Because I never assume that as well. Someone may have worked for 30 years and they've quit and they've gone back to be a mutual aid student. You just never assume that.
That's fantastic.
That's it. And now number 4, it again relates to that, is if we're going to networking functions, we want to start building that relationship when we meet someone. But the next day, you want to send them a LinkedIn request, right? And you want to keep that. Most people these days will have LinkedIn, and we know that that's a really good extension of you, and it certainly should be. Your LinkedIn profile should represent who you are. It should have the photo. If you work for a business, it should have the same photo as the photo that's on your website, on your work website.
Good tip.
So that they can relate to you and see who you are. Well, because that's the other thing, they may go to your website, and hopefully your work website is up to date. If it's not, can talk to Paula. No.
Yeah.
All right. Not here to sell Paula. But I'm just saying that hopefully your website reflects who you are, and your LinkedIn does as well. But what I was trying to say was that when you do send a LinkedIn request, please make sure you click the option that says add a note. So always do it via the person's page. So don't, there is in LinkedIn, I know there is that grid of, you might know this person, and it comes up with 16 different people. And if you just press connect there, all it does is it sends them off a request, and you can't add a note. And that person, you may know who that person is, but they may have no idea who you are.
Yeah.
You may have never met that person. And some people are sometimes a bit reticent to just add anybody kind of thing.
Yeah.
But hopefully you've met someone, you've noted down their name in your notes, or you've got their business card, and you go to connect them, right, the next day. So by adding it, so when you go into their profile and it says connect, and it says, would you, and I love now LinkedIn gives you the option, would you like to add a note? Just press yes. It'll only take you 30 seconds to quickly write, hey, Ali, great to meet you last night at that function on the deck. Wasn't it great? I really enjoyed talking to you. I'd love to hear more about Made for More. I really like the fact that you're into blah, 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 because it's something little that you might not even be about their business, something that will hopefully trigger their memory, because you never want to assume that people will remember who you are. I never want to assume that. And so it just reminds them of the chat, and you'll be surprised how more quickly people will accept your LinkedIn request.
Do you know, I think because we did meet, and it was over 12 months ago, or just over 12 months ago, and I think when we met, it was like your birthday the next day or the day after, and I'm a big birthday celebrator, and I was like, I'm going to email PK and just wish him a happy birthday, and I think that is how we ended up actually connecting, because I was like, yes, birthdays are important. We can celebrate them.
There you go. I love it. Thank you so much. And that's it. You just want to remember something small that because at the end of the day, we're all humans. We all like interacting and being remembered and all those kind of things. So, and which kind of also leads to my 5th and final tip is that, and I've learned this the hard way, never assume that you've wasted time going to an event. Sometimes I'll come home from a function and lament to anyone who will listen, you're working from home, it used to be the dog, that I didn't meet anyone new or of interest or to what I do, or, they already had a marketing agency, and not that I would ever have been that obviously annoyed at the time kind of thing, but I have to quickly remind myself that, sure, that's the situation at the moment, but anything could happen tomorrow, and it has been like that. And I remember going to one event where I reconnected with a great person that I had known through different roles that she had, and she'd moved to a new company, and they were all good. They were fine, and I was a little bit miffed at the time because it was a big company that it would have been great, and I knew that she knew how full of works and everything. But until 3 months later, literally, pretty much the day, she rang and said, hey, so that chat we had at that function, we should catch up now. So obviously something changed. She remembered it, and now we're working with them. We're doing their brand, their website, the videos for them. So I just never assume that you're going to waste time by going to a networking event, because at the end, as I said, it comes back to that whole thing of you are an extension of the brand. You are selling your brand, whoever you are, brand Ali, brand PK, as an extension of brand Fuller, brand Made for More. Yeah. So they are my 5 top tips.
They are awesome. So wear your badge on your right-hand side. Read the room. That's one of my favourite sayings. Read the room. What's going on?
Read the room.
And have some interesting questions to ask people to prompt some open answers about what they're doing and why they're there. What was number 4? LinkedIn requests. So making sure that you don't just fire off any connections without saying something personalised note, and never assume that you're wasting time at an event. Awesome top tips for anyone who's looking to increase their networking or, I guess, up their game. So PK, are there any final reflections?
Yeah, look, again, I just want to say thank you so much, and for this opportunity to chat, and good on you for what you're doing. I absolutely love everything you're doing, and it's so great that you're doing this podcast. I'm a massive fan of everything that you do, and everything from the Crush It Daily Planner, which I'm now using. It took me a while, but yeah, to everything that you're doing. So thank you so much for that.
Thank you.
I suppose the key messages that I like to share about networking is just to remember people, because people love that, and to build the relationship. And I know that's why Coffee with PK has been such a success without being too ego. I'm not, I say it with no ego at all. It's just an honest reflection that I do have a large network, and I'm old, and I've met a lot of people in my years. 55 years, I'm 55 and proud. But I've got a strong connection with them all, I suppose, and I've kept in touch, and therefore they feel comfortable, in coming on to the sessions. But also there are a lot of new people that come to the sessions, and I suppose that's because I've now built it to the stage where people can see what it looks like, and they're comfortable to join in and whatever. So because I just think networking is such an important skill generally for anyone, and even going to networking functions, just being able to network, because it is an honor to be invited to all the events that I get to go to, and to meet different people. But it's not just meeting them, it's like continuing that relationship and keeping in touch. And then when you see them again at another function, it's remembering them. We all love to be recognized, don't we? It makes us feel good, and it makes the person who you recognize, it makes them feel good. So it's all very much mutual gratification or gratitude, Right? And I think that's my key message. I think I'm all about building relationships, helping people connect, and making people feel comfortable. And yes, it's a sales role that I have, but then everything else becomes natural.
Yeah, awesome. I love that. And if anyone is wanting to connect with you, where do you hang out mostly?
Well, physically, at Tell Henry Coffee Cafe a lot, but you can find me, via the fuller website, or my Facebook is just Paul Kitching. I got in early, so it's just my name, Paul Kitching. My LinkedIn also, I got in early, it's just Paul Kitching. I got in all of these. My Instagram is a bit random, _PK, the one word, one word and all spelled out, _PKPWEKAY. Twitter, got in early, Paul Kitching. And all right, I love it. And yeah, there is that Coffee with PK that we talked about before. There is a page there. I do weekly video recaps that can be found via my Instagram page. There's a playlist on Spotify for music that we play at. Anyway, so there's lots of places. As you know, once you're in my web, no.
Yeah, then you're in for good. No, it's an awesome web to be a part of for sure. And I'll add all of those links into the show notes for anyone that would want some more information about networking. But thank you so much today, PK, for your time and your expertise. And you are absolutely a shining light of positivity to everyone that's attended Coffee with PK for the last 19 weeks. Massive, massive achievement. And if anyone is free on a Tuesday, Wednesday or Thursday at 10:30 SA time, hook a line to PK and jump onto a call, because it is awesome just to see what else is going on outside of your own little bubble.
Yeah, I agree. I love it. Thank you so much, Ali. Bring it on.
Thank you.